Have you noticed that as the years add up, especially once we reach 75 or beyond, our bodies begin sending us little reminders that we're not the same as we once were? You wake up in the morning and instead of springing out of bed, you find yourself sitting on the edge, rubbing your knees and wondering why you still feel tired even after a full night's sleep. Or maybe you get halfway through the day and suddenly your energy just seems to vanish. You sit down thinking you'll rest for just a moment, and the next thing you know, an hour has passed. If that sounds familiar, you are not alone, my friend. This is something I hear from men and women every single week, and that's exactly what today's talk is about. Tired after 75? These 4 natural hacks are game changers. I remember one of my longtime patients, Harold. He's a kind, soft-spoken man in his late 70s who came to see me after he realized that even simple things like tending his rose garden or going for short walks with his wife were leaving him drained. He told me, "Doc, I feel like my battery just won't hold a charge anymore." Now, Harold is not a lazy man. In fact, he was a retired school principal who spent his whole life on his feet, moving and speaking with energy. But after 75, something shifted. And if you felt something similar, you know how discouraging it can be. You begin to wonder, is this just what aging is? Am I supposed to feel this way forever? Before I go any further, let me introduce myself for those who are new here. My name is Dr. Nolan Easton. I've been practicing men's health medicine for over 30 years, and in that time, I've had the privilege of walking alongside thousands of men and women through the later seasons of life. I've seen firsthand the challenges that aging can bring, but also the tremendous hope and transformation that's possible with the right care, the right mindset, and the right simple habits. And my goal in this conversation is not to bury you in medical terms or give you unrealistic promises. My goal is to talk with you just as I would if you were sitting across from me in my office, and to share practical wisdom that can help restore the energy, strength, and joy that aging often tries to steal from us. Now, let's go back to Harold for a moment, because his story is important. After a thorough checkup, it was clear that nothing dangerous was going on with his heart or lungs, and his lab work looked steady. But what we discovered was that the fatigue he was feeling wasn't just about age, it was about a combination of small, overlooked factors that added up. And once we addressed those naturally, Harold began to feel like himself again. He didn't feel 25, because none of us will again, but he did feel renewed, steady, and more alive. That's the real goal, not chasing youth, but building vitality for the life we have right now. If you've ever wondered why the body feels more drained after 75, let's talk about that in a way that makes sense. Think of your body as a beautiful old home. Over the years, that home has weathered storms, hosted family gatherings, and carried the stories of a lifetime. But after a while, the paint begins to fade, the foundation needs a little reinforcement, and the plumbing doesn't run quite as smooth. It's not that the home is broken, it just needs care and attention in ways that it didn't when it was brand new. The same goes for our bodies. After 75, our muscles hold less fuel, our circulation slows, our hormones shift, and our cells don't recover as quickly. But here's the key. None of that means you are destined to feel worn out. It simply means your body is asking you to adapt, to give it a different kind of care. That's why I want to share with you these 4 natural hacks that I've seen make a remarkable difference for men and women over 75. They're not expensive, they don't require fancy equipment, and they don't demand extreme effort. What they do require is an open heart, a little consistency, and a willingness to try something new. If you give them a chance, I believe you'll see changes not only in your energy, but in your mood, your focus, and even the enjoyment you get out of everyday life. Imagine waking up in the morning and feeling eager to move again instead of dragging yourself out of bed. Imagine sitting down for a meal and feeling your digestion work smoothly instead of heavy and sluggish. Imagine walking outside and realizing your legs feel strong beneath you. That's what these natural hacks can help unlock. But before I dive deeper into Harold's transformation and the first steps that worked for him, let me pause for just a moment. If what I've shared so far is resonating with you, if you've ever found yourself saying, "Yes, that's me. I'm more tired now than I want to be," then I'd love to hear from you. Leave me a quick yes or no in the comments below. It may seem small, but I actually read through those responses, and it helps me understand how to better serve you in future conversations. And if you haven't already, please take a second to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tap the little bell icon. That way, you won't miss any of these talks, and together we can continue building a community of strength and wisdom in these golden years. Now, Harold was not unlike many of you. He came in tired, frustrated, and even a little embarrassed. He told me, "Doc, I feel like I'm slowing my wife down. She wants to go for walks, and I have to stop and rest. I used to be the strong one, and now I feel like I'm the one holding her back." Those words hit me because they speak to something deeper than just fatigue. They speak to dignity, to pride, to identity, and that's why this matters so much. When you restore energy, you're not just boosting your body, you're restoring your confidence, your independence, your joy. The first natural shift Harold made was surprisingly simple, and yet it unlocked something powerful in his body. It wasn't about pills or prescriptions, it was about reconnecting with one of the body's most natural rhythms. And within a few weeks, he came back into my office with a little more light in his eyes. He told me, "Doc, I don't feel like Superman, but I don't feel like an empty battery anymore either." That was the start of his turnaround, and it's one of the reasons I'm so passionate about sharing this with you today. Because here's the truth. Being tired after 75 is not a life sentence. It's a signpost pointing you toward adjustments that can breathe fresh energy into your days. Harold's story is proof of that. And in the next steps, I'll guide you through exactly what made the difference for him and how those same principles can help you feel renewed too. When Harold and I first sat down to talk through his fatigue, I asked him about his daily routine, what time he went to bed, how he slept through the night, and what his mornings looked like. He told me that he usually stayed up until midnight watching television, then tossed and turned for hours, only to wake up at 6 a.m. feeling unrested. He thought he was getting enough sleep, but his body was giving him a very different story. I explained to him that as we age, our relationship with sleep changes. The body's natural rhythms, the ones that used to fall neatly into place, begin to shift. For people over 75, those shifts can mean lighter sleep, shorter sleep cycles, and more interruptions. And when your rest is shallow, your energy during the day pays the price. That's why one of the most powerful natural hacks I recommend to my patients is to respect your sleep rhythm again, not by sleeping longer, but by sleeping smarter. I told Harold to try something simple. Instead of watching TV until midnight, he would shut everything down by 9:30 and give himself permission to rest. Not just go to bed, but create a real wind-down ritual. That meant dimming the lights, putting away electronics, and maybe reading a calming book. He chuckled when I said that because he told me he hadn't picked up a book in years, but he agreed to give it a shot. 2 weeks later, Harold came back to see me, and the difference was written all over his face. He looked more awake, his skin even seemed brighter, and his wife told me he had been more cheerful in the mornings. He said, "Doc, I didn't realize how much staying up late was draining me. I thought I was enjoying my shows, but really, they were robbing me of my mornings." That's the beauty of honoring your natural rhythm. When you give your body the kind of rest it truly needs, you don't just survive the day, you step into it with energy. But sleep alone isn't the full picture. Energy, after all, is like a fire. You can't expect the fire to burn if you don't give it fuel. And what I often see, especially in my patients past 75, is that their diet quietly works against them. Not because they're overeating, but because they're missing the right building blocks. Think about Harold again. He and his wife were eating a fairly light diet, mostly toast, cereal, sandwiches, and tea. It wasn't unhealthy, but it wasn't giving his body the nourishment it needed to produce steady energy. So the second natural shift we made was about fuel. I asked Harold to start his mornings with something rich in protein and healthy fats instead of just toast and jam. He was skeptical at first, but his wife began making him a small omelet with spinach, or sometimes oatmeal with nuts and berries. Within days, he noticed something surprising. He wasn't nodding off mid-morning anymore. He told me, "Doc, I feel steadier. I don't crash like I used to." That's the magic of fueling the body correctly. It evens out your energy like a steady current instead of a flickering bulb. And let me tell you, this isn't about eating like an athlete or following a strict diet. It's about small, sustainable adjustments that match the season of life you're in. At 75 and beyond, your body doesn't process food in the same way it did at 25. You don't need mountains of calories. You need the right kind of nourishment. A little extra protein to keep your muscles strong. A little more fiber to keep your digestion moving. And water, plenty of water, because dehydration alone can leave you feeling wiped out. Now, I know what some of you may be thinking as you listen to this. You might say, "Dr. Easton, I've already tried changing my diet. I've already tried going to bed earlier. I'm still tired." And I hear you. That's why I want to reassure you that no single hack is a magic button. The real transformation comes when you start weaving these pieces together. Rest, fuel, movement, and mindset. They form a web that supports your whole being. And when one strand gets stronger, the others naturally follow. This is where Harold's story gets even more inspiring. After he started honoring his sleep rhythm and improving his morning meals, he had more energy. And with that extra energy, he was able to do something he hadn't done in years. He began to walk with his wife again. At first, it was just down the street and back with plenty of pauses. But soon they were circling the block, then strolling through the park nearby. His wife told me with tears in her eyes, "I have my walking partner back." And this leads us into the third natural hack I often share. Movement. Not exercise in the way most people picture it, but gentle, daily movement that recharges the body. You see, the less we move, the more our muscles stiffen, our circulation slows, and our energy dips. It's like leaving a car parked for too long. It doesn't run as smoothly when you finally start it up. But just a little bit of regular movement keeps everything humming. Now, before I go deeper into that, let me pause here to ask something of you. If you're finding these insights valuable, I'd truly appreciate it if you hit the like button on this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and tap that bell icon so you'll always know when a new conversation goes live. And please don't be shy about leaving a yes or no in the comments if what I've said today rings true for you. I really do go through your comments, and they help me tailor these talks so they're not just words, but real solutions for your life. Harold's return to movement was not about jogging, lifting weights, or pushing his limits. It was about reconnecting with the simple rhythm of walking, of stretching, of using his body in gentle but intentional ways. Within a month, he noticed that the fatigue that used to strike him in the afternoons had eased. He still got tired, of course, because tiredness is part of being human, but it wasn't the bone-deep exhaustion that left him sidelined. Instead, it was the healthy tiredness of a man who had lived his day fully. And that's a powerful distinction. One leaves you drained, the other leaves you satisfied. That's the difference that these natural hacks can create. They don't promise perfection, but they bring dignity back to your days. They give you the strength to show up for the things that matter most: your family, your hobbies, your faith, your community. When Harold came into my office for his next visit, he smiled and said, "Doc, I didn't realize how much I missed feeling like myself." And I believe that's what so many of you long for. Not to be younger again, but to feel like yourself again. To feel strong enough, awake enough, and alive enough to enjoy the life you've worked so hard to build. When Harold began walking again, something beautiful happened. It wasn't just his body that changed. His spirit lifted too. He told me one afternoon, "Doc, I didn't realize how much joy I had lost by sitting still." That struck me deeply, because fatigue is not only about the body. It weighs on the mind and soul as well. When you feel drained, your world shrinks. You turn down invitations, you avoid errands, you even pass on the little pleasures that once brightened your day. But when energy returns, suddenly the world opens up again. This brings us to the third natural hack I encourage for men and women over 75. The healing power of consistent, gentle movement. Now, I want to pause here and be clear. I'm not talking about joining a gym or straining your body with heavy routines. What I've seen work best is simply adding intentional, light activity into your everyday life. Think of it as oiling the hinges on a door. Without it, the door sticks and groans. With a little oil, it swings open with ease. Movement is that oil for your muscles, your circulation, and your energy. For Harold, it began with those short strolls. At first, he would shuffle slowly, resting every few minutes. But he and his wife made it a ritual. After breakfast, they'd walk to the corner and back. Soon they extended their route around the block. Within weeks, something shifted. He wasn't just walking farther, he was walking taller. His steps grew steadier, and the tightness in his legs began to ease. He looked at me one day and said, "Doc, I feel like my legs belong to me again." That's the power of circulation waking up. Movement does more than strengthen muscles. It tells your brain, "I am alive, I am capable, I am moving forward." And that message releases natural chemicals that lift mood and sharpen focus. Many of my patients who once complained of constant tiredness found that just a 15-minute walk each day cleared the fog from their minds. They didn't feel like different people overnight, but little by little, the heaviness lifted. I'll never forget another patient, Eleanor, who joined Harold and his wife on their morning walks. She was 80 years old, widowed, and had been feeling isolated. She once said to me, "Dr. Easton, my body aches, but it's the loneliness that makes me the most tired." That's another truth we often overlook. Fatigue is not always physical. Sometimes it's the weight of solitude or the absence of purpose. But when Eleanor began walking with Harold and his wife, she didn't just exercise, she connected. And that connection renewed her energy in ways no medicine ever could. Now, I know some of you may be thinking, "Dr. Easton, my knees hurt, my back isn't strong, I can't walk far." That's all right. Gentle movement can be adapted. Maybe for you it's stretching in a chair, or light Tai Chi in the living room, or even gardening. What matters is that you invite your body to move a little each day in ways that bring you comfort rather than strain. Movement, even in small amounts, builds momentum. And momentum is the enemy of fatigue. I want to pause here for a moment to remind you, if what I'm saying resonates, please take a second to hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't yet, and tap that little bell icon so you never miss these conversations. And let me know in the comments below, does this idea of gentle, daily movement feel realistic to you? Just a simple yes or no will do. I read your responses carefully, and they guide me in creating advice that truly fits your needs. With Harold, once the walking became part of his rhythm, we moved on to the fourth natural hack. This one might surprise you, because it isn't about sleep, food, or exercise. It's about something less visible, but just as powerful: mindset. After 75, many people quietly adopt the belief that slowing down is inevitable, that fatigue is permanent, that their best days are behind them. And that belief becomes a cage. The body follows where the mind leads. If the mind says, "I am old and tired," the body will echo it. But if the mind says, "I am still alive, still capable, still worthy of energy," the body often responds with new vitality. When Harold realized this, his transformation accelerated. He started speaking differently. Instead of saying, "I can't do that anymore," he began saying, "Let's see how far I can go today." His wife noticed and she told me, "Doc, he's more himself again, joking with me, planning little projects in the yard." It wasn't that his body magically reversed the clock. It was that his spirit lifted, and that gave his body permission to follow. Mindset doesn't mean ignoring pain or pretending you're 25 again. It means choosing to focus on what's still possible, on what's still beautiful, on what you can still do. I often tell my patients, energy is not just fuel, it's perspective. When you wake up and look forward to something, even something small like a phone call with a grandchild or watering your plants, your body responds with a spark of energy. That's why staying connected, nurturing relationships, and giving yourself purpose is just as important as food and rest. Harold discovered this firsthand when he began volunteering at his church again. At first, he only signed up to greet people at the door once a week. But after a month, he told me, "Doc, I'm surprised by how much I look forward to it. Talking to people, smiling at them, it gives me more energy than I thought I had." That's the secret no pill can match. Purpose recharges us. When you have a reason to rise each day, tiredness has less power over you. So when we talk about these natural hacks, remember they're not just about the body. They're about creating harmony between body, mind, and spirit. Sleep that restores, food that fuels, movement that reawakens, and a mindset that uplifts. Together, they create a foundation where energy can flourish even after 75. Harold is living proof. He began this journey feeling like his battery was empty. Today, he still has moments of tiredness because he's human, not superhuman. But he no longer feels defeated by it. Instead, he knows how to care for his body in ways that bring him steady strength. And perhaps most importantly, he has regained the confidence to live fully with his wife, his friends, and his community. And that is what I want for you as well. Not a return to youth, but a renewed joy in the life you have today.
When I think about Harold's journey, I can't help but smile. Here was a man who walked into my office feeling like life had slipped away from him, like he was destined to spend the rest of his years drained and weary. And yet, with a few natural shifts, better sleep, improved nourishment, gentle movement, and a renewed mindset, he began to reclaim not only his energy, but his sense of self. That is the heart of today's message. Tired after 75? These 4 natural hacks are game changers, elderly advice. Now, before I share a little more about Harold's transformation, I want you to pause and think about your own life. Have you been carrying around a quiet resignation that fatigue is simply the way things are now? Have you caught yourself saying, "Well, I'm old, this is just how it is"? If so, let me gently challenge you. Age does not mean the end of vitality. Age simply asks us to live with more wisdom, to adapt, and to embrace the natural rhythms that sustain us. You see, after 75, the body is not broken, it's wise. It speaks loudly through signals of tiredness, stiffness, or fog. Those signals are not punishments, but invitations. Invitations to rest well, to fuel better, to move gently, and to shift the way we see ourselves. And when we accept those invitations, the results can be profound. Take Harold again. By the time we reached our 4th visit together, he looked like a new man. His posture was straighter, his face more relaxed, his laughter more frequent. His wife told me she felt like she had her companion back, not just physically, but emotionally. And Harold himself told me, "Doc, I didn't think it was possible to feel this good at my age. I thought that part of life was behind me." That is the gift of these natural hacks. They show us that vitality is not reserved for the young. It belongs to anyone willing to care for themselves with intention. But let me be honest with you, because I believe in truth over sugarcoating. Fatigue will not vanish completely. Even with the best sleep, food, movement, and mindset, you will still have days when energy dips. That's part of being human. What changes is the weight of that tiredness. Instead of it pressing you down, it becomes something you can live alongside, knowing that your body still has strength and joy to offer. And that, my friend, is a victory worth celebrating. Over the years, I've had the privilege of watching men and women just like Harold, and just like you, find renewal in their later years. And what I've learned is that the most powerful medicine isn't a pill, it isn't a procedure, it's hope. Hope that change is possible, that fatigue can ease, that life can still hold energy and delight. When you hold on to that hope, every choice you make, whether it's going to bed earlier, choosing a nourishing meal, or stepping outside for a short walk, becomes a step toward reclaiming that vitality. Now, I'd like you to picture something for a moment. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning, and instead of dreading the day, you feel a quiet spark of energy. You stretch, you breathe deeply, and you realize your body feels just a little lighter. You walk to the kitchen, prepare a simple, wholesome breakfast, and notice that your energy stays steady through the morning. Later, you take a short walk, maybe with a friend, maybe alone, and you feel the sun on your face. That night, you lie down, your mind calmer, your body ready to rest. This is not a fantasy. It is a life that is possible when you embrace these 4 natural shifts. Now, I want to take a moment to speak directly to you, as though we were sitting together in my office. If you have been struggling with tiredness, please know this: you are not failing. You are not weak. You are not broken. Your body is simply asking for a different kind of care, and it's never too late to give it what it needs. Whether you are 75, 85, or even 95, your body still responds to love, attention, and consistency, and you deserve that care. This is also where I want to invite you into something bigger than just watching this video. If today's conversation has spoken to you, I'd love for you to become part of this community in a more active way. Please like this video, subscribe if you haven't yet, and tap the bell icon so you can stay connected. And most importantly, leave me a simple yes or no in the comments. Does this message resonate with you? I read those responses personally, and they guide me in shaping the advice I bring to you in future conversations. Your feedback is not just numbers on a screen. It's a dialogue, a way for us to walk this journey together. And as we come to a close today, I want to return to Harold one last time. He started this journey sitting in my office, shoulders slumped, eyes tired, voice heavy with resignation. Today, he walks with his wife in the park, greets neighbors with a smile, and volunteers at his church with a heart full of purpose. His story reminds us that even after 75, life is not finished. It is still unfolding, and the same possibility lies before you. So, my friend, if you have been asking yourself, is there more to life than this tiredness? Let Harold's story and these natural hacks be your answer. Yes, there is more. Yes, you can feel renewed. Yes, you can live with energy and joy again. Take that first step tonight. Turn off the television a little earlier. Rest your body well. Tomorrow morning, choose a breakfast that fuels you. Step outside and move, even if it's just for 5 minutes. And most of all, speak kindly to yourself. Remind yourself that you are still capable, still worthy, and still alive with possibility. Because the truth is this: age is not the enemy. Fatigue is not the end. And with the right care, your best days can still be filled with light, laughter, and strength. This is Dr. Nolan Easton, and it has been an honor to walk through this conversation with you. Stay encouraged, stay hopeful, and remember, you are never too old to feel alive again.